Who will do the best when the stuff hits the fan? SHTF. This is a question that gets asked a lot on internet forums and on YouTube, and everybody's got a different opinion on it. Some people think that if you have a military or law enforcement background, that would be helpful. And it makes sense because humans would be behaving badly, and you'll need to be able to deal with that. Some people would argue that a hunter or outdoorsman would have the upper hand because they've got the outdoors experience to go off of. Makes sense to me. Some people would argue that an organic farmer has a leg up because they're already producing their own food without using external inputs. That's definitely a good skill to have. And then others would argue that preppers, hoarders of supplies would be doing the best because they have a lot of stuff stored up. Okay. I would suggest maybe looking at it from a different perspective. Because what happens when the stuff hits the fan, when civilization collapses? Well, I imagine the power grid would go down. There would be no more power. And without the power, you would have the water stop running because that's all run off of energy. Your gas stations would not be getting refueled. Grocery stores would not be getting food. People would not be going to work. All these systems that we're used to having on a daily basis would break down. So everybody would be instantly forced into a more primitive lifestyle. So my experience here now, having lived on the land here for about 3 weeks, primitively like would happen in a collapse, I've noticed that every day without fail, I get kicked in the teeth. You know, in the morning, I might get up and say, I'm going to do this, this, and this today. But at some point during the day, bam, I'm going to receive a hard right hook out of nowhere. And it's never something that's easy to go over. It's always something that you can't just look up an answer to on Google or find in a book. It's always some strange thing that you have to look at it and just evaluate the situation, come up with some solution on your own, and take action, and then live with the consequences of your action. That's actually what inspired me to do this video today. Was I had a little catastrophe to deal with this morning, and I was thinking, man, this just stuff like this just seems to happen every single day. So my experience with this is that maybe the person that would fare the well, I wouldn't even say anybody's going to fare the best in a collapse like that where everybody's got to live primitively. It would be who would fare the least worst, because I don't care who you are, when modern systems break down, you're not going to be living high on the hog. It's going to be some degree of less worse than other people. So I think what's gotten me through these first 3 weeks is problem solving ability and sheer grit and determination. You know, I think that's what's going to help people the most is if they got good problem solving ability, because when things collapse, I believe a lot of people would die off simply because they're just in such shock that they would just sit there and do nothing at exactly the time when you need to be doing something. So I would say people who have that skill set of being able to recognize problems immediately and attack them and fix them would have a great upper hand. Let's say, for instance, like a handyman, every day he goes to a different person's house and he's going to encounter a different situation. He might have to fix this or work on this, and he never knows what it's going to be on a daily basis. And he's got to work with what materials and resources he's got available to him. So a handyman like that might have a much more highly developed problem solving abilities than somebody who works a job where they just follow procedures all day or something. So we're all born with different degrees of problem solving ability, but it can be worked on. Skills can be acquired that way. Same thing with grit. A mailman, it might be 100 degrees out or 20 below out, perfectly sunny or pouring rain, and either way, homeboy's got to get out there and deliver the mail. So that person might be much more gritty and resistant to external conditions than somebody who works in an air conditioned office all day. So I think the skills of problem solving and grit can be developed simply by getting out and doing the things. Yeah, I believe in having a good survival library, doing lots of reading, doing lots of homework, prepping, buying things you need or whatever. But it's also important at some point you got to get off the couch and get out and do the things. That's going to force you into situations where you have to come up with solutions to problems. That's going to put you in uncomfortable situations. That's going to make you more gritty and resistant to whatever comes your way. I know just in these 3 weeks, we've run the gamut from hot, pretty miserable, sweaty, nasty temperatures down to pretty cold, frigid cold, and pouring rain. And I got a shower in whatever condition it's in. It's uncomfortable, but it's making me tougher and more rugged. So I like to think that if society did collapse today, I'm already 3 weeks ahead of the general population in adapting to a more primitive lifestyle just because I'm out doing it. And I'd suggest it's something you may want to consider in addition to doing the prepping, hoarding things, and in practicing the skills that we talked about earlier. Uh, Maybe just put yourself into difficult situations and force yourself to get better at problem solving.